Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos and a new Elden Ring build with myself, Hollow. Today you might realize what we're doing. These are the veterans' Prosthesis fist weapons, and this is their Ash of War Storm Kick, which is an incredible lightning double slam. As a fist weapon, these have been majorly buffed in 1.08 to have much improved speed of attacks and reduced recovery time, which means you're able to combo into other things much quicker while avoiding damage, and in general allow for the full possibility of this weapon, making it a lot more reta relevant and viable. Combine that with a small amount of faith to get some very powerful buffs like the Dragonbolt blessing, and we've got ourselves some impressive poise, where enemies can actually bounce their attacks off you as if you're made of rock, giving you the opportunity to punish them aggressively in PvP or make the ridiculous trades in PvE, maybe especially with the Ash of War, which has hyper armor during that leap and the lightning slam. This makes for a very fun and unique build. A weapon that has been mostly left to the wayside is now playable. So we're going to take a look at it in both PvP and PvE, starting with PvP. We'll jump in immediately with the most important aspect of this toolkit, the running attacks of the fist weapons, and specifically these Prosthesis fist weapons are incredible for that because they have a running light that is a sort of double poke, which has much better range than other fist weapon running lights, making it extremely effective as well as being really fast. That running attack is so important because we can use it as a sort of a crutch to overcome the shorter range of this weapon type. The running light, being this thrusting style poke, is great for that because it has extra range, and we can do it from a complete standstill, really suddenly, really quickly, working as a great punish, harass poke. You can also use a running heavy to slow things down when people get used to that fast light and punish rolls. Now obviously the standing attack combo is really good here thanks to the buffs to fist weapons in 1.08. They made the attack speed much better. Your attacks from standstill are so quick that if someone rolls around you, you are just hitting them anyway, and you're building up lots of DPS. The moment they run out of stamina or give up rolling, they're just going to take so many hits. And because we've got successive buffs in this build, that damage is going to be great as it skyrockets. The issue with fists in general here though is that they're the worst of the short range weapons in terms of range, because they weren't buffed with that like daggers, or like the claws just having longer range because longer weapon. Making use of your standing attacks wisely and well then is going to be important when someone's up close and not realizing you're going to go for that. Because of how quick they are and how quick they come out, that's the best way I find to get them off. When it comes to trading, it is possible in PvP thanks to our heavier poise armor, and most importantly the Dragonbolt blessing buff we're using. That blessing combined with our current setup means some players will literally bounce off of you like you're a rock wall with their attacks if they're using a medium to lighter weapon. That is really effective and useful in trade, where we can blindly attack when they're bouncing off us anyway. It opens up windows of punish you might not have normally, and that's something that's very good. The Ash of War then, Storm Kick, is a sudden slam down that you can follow up with a heavy attack which will have you leap forward and slam down with lightning. That jump follow-up has all the hyper armor throughout, meaning it's a fantastic trading option if someone is foolish enough to fall for that. The first part of the Ash will deal some good damage, 300 to 500 for a sudden hit, followed by the big lightning slam, which will have the damage of the weapon and lightning, scaling things a lot higher. The issue here in PvP with this Ash is the slower nature of the follow-up hit. How predictable and obvious it is means it's unlikely to ever land unless you get it in trade or surprise. The AoE and range of that attack isn't high, so they need to take the hit by trading into it or getting caught by it, most likely in free-for-all where you're not the obvious target on screen. If you can catch someone with it or trade, it will hurt, but it is hard to do. Unlike Dragonbolt, which is very reliable. An effective ranged harass, interrupting enemies during their casts or incantations, chipping out health while they approach you, or just go back to range maybe to get mana. The starting animation's a bit slower, but the follow-up spam as you cast it over and over, that's really quick. So you want to punish by getting the first cast off when possible, and then spamming it as long as possible until they're consistently avoiding it. That way you can steal a good chunk of health from range whenever they think they're safe, interrupt casts where necessary, and have that utility in the build. Overall, we have a 0 to 100 super fast combo attack in the fists thanks to 1.0 buffs. The improvements to recovery mean we can combo from one thing to another, running attacks into standing combos into the Ash and so on, and Dragonbolt helps us with those range options. It is a very viable setup in PvP when played smartly, but how will it perform by comparison in PvE? Well, thanks to the simple but super effective standing combo spam with those successive hits, our damage scales nice and high very quickly as we get many hits off with these very quick combos. It's extremely powerful then to just standing combo as long and as many times as you can in a fight, and with our personal poise buff working in unison with that, it's quite reliable to do exactly that, especially in the open world where enemies will just be bouncing off of you, which is great. Not to forget, the weapon itself has a mix of physical and lightning damage, so where lightning damage is powerful in PvE in the open world, this can be very strong DPS indeed. When it comes to the Ash of War Storm Kick, that's a powerhouse per hit, especially per full combo. The moment you enter that second part, you're going to have all the hyper armor in the world, so you can make sure that will hit and trade with bosses easily with that. The only issue is if a boss is very mobile, which, you know, not many of them are, you should be able to consistently land that second half because of all that hyper armor. In fact, spamming the Ash of War back to back as your only source of damage is viable because you will stagger. It is an Ash of War ultimately, leading to standing combos or maybe a critical hit, and especially powerful if lightning damage is good in that fight. The downside here is the lack of armor on the first part of the Ash, because you won't get it until you're leaping in the air. The first slam is nice on damage and does work as a nice finisher after another combo or basic attack, but it should ideally be followed by the second and more damaging hyper armored lightning bit. I find that we have a nice selection of options with all of this, and it makes for an interesting playstyle while looking and feeling cool. Best played with a mix of the standing combos, the running, the jumps, and making good use of the Ash of War, mainly for its hyper armor to stagger bosses and trade where you know you're going to get hit anyway. Alright then, let's get this build explanation underway then. It is a very cool looking build, kind of thematic. I love the way it looks, but we are running obviously the Veteran's Prosthesis, our main fist weapon, and our seal of choice is just a basic finger seal since we only have 25 faith. Anyway, this is the PvE setup, so I've got this helmet piece, the commoner's headband, because it's so light, and then you have the one poise, and then obviously the Veteran's armor, as much as that as we can wear. It's actually an incredibly efficient piece, and you will see it in PvP often because it's so much poise for this weight class. Our talismans include the Shard of Alexander, the Rotten Wind Sword Insignia, and the Millicent's Prosthesis. These three are consistent for obvious reasons. Successive attacks is how we're getting damage, Ash of War is being spammed, and then we have the Lightning Scorpion Charm to raise our lightning damage in PvE specifically. I would never recommend something that lowers your damage negation in PvP though, so there I run something like Erdtree's Favor. This allows for slightly more equip load, which is ideal in PvP, so we take off that random headband and put on the Elden Lord Bracers for a lot more poise. Either way, in both content, we are running the Flask of Wondrous Physic with Lightning Shroud in Cracked Tear to boost our lightning attack, and then Thorny to boost our successive attacks, of course. Our incantations are 4, the standard Golden Vow and Flame Grant Strength to boost our AR, which is very important. You want to get this off whenever you can, although it's unlikely in duels. There's the all-important Dragon Blessing to give us that poise, and the Home Ball for its uses in both PvE and PvP, where you need some ranged damage. Lastly, our stats then are the 60 Vigor you'd expect, 16 Mind to get us 100 FP exactly, 17 Endurance being the most I can squeeze out, 50 Strength and 45 Dex, although we have 50 here because we do have Millicent's Prosthesis, which gives us 5 Dex, and 25 Faith to use those incantations. You might wonder why 50 Dex and not more Strength, based on the C scaling and D scaling on Dex, but I found a nice healthy mix of both was actually about 50 more AR compared to just going Strength. Perhaps these scaling numbers aren't that all accurate in this case. But there you have it, our complete Veterans build, if you will. Our fist weapon type that is a lot more relevant and playable, combined with some fun of that Ash of War, and of course, the all-important Dragonbolt Blessing. It's been great in this patch to see a nice variety of builds, especially as the patch has gone on, and those changes to various weapon types like fists has been encouraging us to try those specific changes and see what we can make work now. If you have enjoyed the build and this video, then drop a like, and if you have a build suggestion, then drop that in the comments. For now then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.